You're listening to the Morphology Podcast. Thanks for tuning into the Morphology Podcast, aka Murph here to share interviews about biking experiences from cyclists who have pedaled to places all over. Each week, we'll get to know new people and explore new destinations to ride your bike. As you listen to these adventures, you may wonder, why haven't I done that yet? Registration is open for the 2025 Colorado's Ride, and use code MURPH, MURPH, to get $100 off your registration fee. Occurring in mid-August, Colorado's Ride is an epic cycling adventure that immerses you into, dare I say, stunning landscape of Colorado and charming towns like Durango and Pagosa Springs. I completed this ride in 2024 and invited ride director Bill Plock to be on the podcast to talk about this bike tour. This multi-day tour features an ascent up almost 11,000 feet on Molas Pass, through the San Juan National Forest, and also up beautiful Wolf Creek Pass. Off the bike, there are some really cool experiences available, and we talk about some of them on this episode. Again, registration is open. Go to coloradosride.com and use code MURPH for $100 off. A very warm welcome to Mr. Bill Plock of Colorado's Ride. Hey, Bill.
Hey, how you doing, Murph?
Good, man. We go back several years. You are an Iowa native, and we've ridden bikes together. We've actually worked together. So it's nice to have you on the podcast and talk to you a little bit about another ride.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me. And it's been a little while since you were in Durango at Colorado's Ride.
Yeah.
And be fun to catch up.
Yeah. And I think, listeners who listen to this podcast will remember that I talked a little bit about Colorado's Ride and how awesome it was. And now we're going to have the guy who runs it telling everyone about it, which is cool. But before we do that, what's been going on? Have you been doing anything fun since I've seen you last year?
Well, I mean, I've had a lot of stuff going on. I've moved to the mountains. I live in Winter Park, Colorado now.
Ooh, la la.
Yeah, so that's been a big adjustment for me. And living in altitude, I've been skiing. I've skied, what's the date tonight? This is the 30th, right? So I've skied probably 28 days this month.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And when you're talking altitude, what does that mean? Like, where are you at?
I'm at 9,500 feet.
Whoa. So if you ever come back to Iowa, you're going to have super lungs.
Yes. They'll feel like, yeah, it's awesome. It's cold. I mean, it's 5 degrees out right now as we talk.
Wow. And then
that's normal.
Are you cross-country skiing or downhill skiing?
Cross-country mostly, some downhill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, mostly cross-country. I do it every day. It's just like, it's almost like you going for a walk. I'm going to go for a ski.
Yeah.
I just literally walk out my front door. It's awesome. And I went to Spain in October with a good friend of mine who's coming to dinner tomorrow night, as a matter of fact. And we rode bikes for 7 or 8 days, and with an Education First tour. And that was amazing. Girona is off the chart. You got to go. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, that's where they film most of it. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
pretty cool.
And when you say biking, are you road biking, gravel, mountain bike? What are you doing?
Road biking.
Road biking in Spain.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, it's like, I forget the name of the coast now, but the Amalfi Coast? No. Anyway, it's super gorgeous. Vineyards. We went to 2 wine tastings and all kinds of amazing food. I actually, one night was in a castle, like
Ooh.
built in 15 something or another, and then they renovated it to a hotel. And I mean, it was off the chart. Education First does such a good job of tours.
And then did you actually have a guide with you, or were you following like their GPS, ride with GPS routes?
No, we had 2 guides.
Oh,
and
wow.
We actually had 2 guides and then a third guy who was our mechanic, if you will, just in case. And yeah, no, these guys, one was from Austria, one was from Romania. Super interesting people, really, really good. And And most of the meals were included. We always stop for coffee in the morning, and then we'd grab a beer at some little cafe somewhere at the end of the day. And there's always cyclists all over the place. And
Mm.
as a matter of fact, I was in one of these cafes in Girona, and this woman named Beth walked in with her group, and Beth was a rum runner
Oh,
uh,
no way.
customer. Yeah, I was like, "What are you doing here?" It's like such a small world, but
And
yeah,
I'll post a link in the our show notes, but Rum Runner Tour is an event that happens in Florida that I was part of a couple years ago and did a full episode, I believe, with you and Pat Maben.
yeah.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
it's hard to believe that you've been a customer of mine for two different events. I
Yeah.
think you're the only one.
Whoa, wait. Hey, do I get a medal or anything or
Maybe we'll have to give you a belt buckle like
a
they do
bell?
at the Leadville 100.
Yeah, there you go. So it sounds like I need to put Spain on my bike it list.
Oh, I mean, seriously, I'm not even kidding. Because I've kind of gone a little sour with road biking, to be honest, in terms of living in Denver at least, because it's just so busy. It feels dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And in Spain, even on these small little 2-lane roads that can barely fit two cars, I felt 100% safe.
Hmm.
Like drivers were super courteous. I don't know what it was, but it just re-energized me about road biking and as a sport, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was really refreshing. I don't road bike much at all because in Winter Park here, there's just like two roads. Everything else is dirt. So
Sure.
I'm gravel riding totally.
Well, okay, I'll do some research. Tell us again the name of the touring company that you're part of.
Education first.
Education First. Okay, so I'm going to look that up too. I've got,
They actually sponsor a Tour de France team. They're the largest touring company in the world,
oh,
and they
wow.
just started to do bike tours. They've always done like with those kids in high school, their senior trip. They're the ones that do a lot of those trips. Um,
Ah.
they have 40,000 employees.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and this is their first. I was part of their first bike tour,
Wow.
even though they sponsored a Tour de France team. They've never
Wow.
done bike tours until now.
Okay, and out of 5 stars, what do you give them for their first bike tour?
I'm gonna give them 5.5 because it
Oh,
was that good.
oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, let's segue into Colorado's ride, which I'm going to also give five, 5.5 stars for sure. Actually, I can go 6 stars because I got to use some compression legs, which um, saved me from my last couple of days. But anyway, and you briefly mentioned Rum Runner Tour, but tell us how did Colorado's ride come to be?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, as you know, I was the ride director of Ride the Rockies in 2022,
Yeah.
and I learned a lot about how that works. I kind of got thrown into that at the last minute with very little experience, but it went okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great education. And then Zach Ostrander, my partner at Colorado's Ride, he's been doing logistical stuff in the behind the scenes for Ride the Rockies and all kinds of rides around the country for years and years. And we've known each other. We had known each other before Ride the Rockies, of course. And
Mm-hmm.
we just had thought, a tour that is easier logistically should be done. Like
Mm-hmm.
Ride the Rockies or even Ragbri or any other ride, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, you typically ride to a town, spend the night, get up, ride to the next town, spend the night, ride. And that's all well and good, but it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're long days and you're just wiped out. You've been climbing up mountains. You're just tired, and then you got to repack all your stuff
Mm-hmm.
and get out the door. So we came up with this idea of two towns in the best part of Colorado, in my opinion, to ride in southwest Colorado with the towns of Durango and Pagosa Springs, and we just kind of went from there.
And if you're going to pick two places to call, kind of your base camp, you pick the right ones because I just had the best time ever. I experienced, of course, the cycling, but also the experience of being in those small towns, You picked like the beautiful places where I could sit in a hot tub or hot springs for, dare I say, hours. And plus, the little cafes that are around. I had a really good Mexican restaurant that we stopped at, and everything about it was just beautiful. So I don't want to spoil what you're going to say about it, but like Colorado's ride started a couple of years ago. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. And you limit the number of riders. Is that correct also?
Yeah, we have a limit of 350, sort of somewhat self-imposed, and also in cooperation with the Colorado State Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the roads, as you know, I mean, especially the first day when we ride from Durango to Silverton over Mullis and Colbank passes, and they're pretty tight roads. I mean, there's a little bit of shoulder, traffic's not too crazy, but at the same time, you don't really want 2,000 cyclists rolling around on those roads, and so we decided to keep it smaller, and the train has a bit of a limit too. Not everybody rides the train back. We did include the option last year to turn around at the top of Mullis Pass and go back to Durango on your bike, which actually never happened with an organized ride. But because the first year went so well with the Colorado State Police, they I guess the word trust, they trust us. They know we're trying to take care of people, and we have all this necessary safety precautions and things, and we're just conscientious about everybody's safety. So they allow us to have a return trip as well. So we have two-way bike traffic on that first day.
But you got to take the train. Oh my gosh.
You got to take the train.
If I would have had, like a smaller storage limit in my phone, I would have maxed it out. I took so many videos and photos, but okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Tell the listeners like when this event takes place and again, where it goes.
Yeah, so it's August 18th through the 22nd. So basically the third week of August. It's weekdays only. So then that gives you a chance to like dovetail a weekend on before or a weekend after, or whatever you want to do. We start in Durango, which there are flights to Durango itself. You don't have to fly to like Denver or Albuquerque. Those would be the two nearest major airports. You could fly to Montrose also, which is fairly close. Southwest does fly to Montrose, and then United flies to Durango. So there's a couple ways to get there. And we 3 days in Durango, 2 days in Pagosa Springs, which is about 70 miles away from Durango. Two totally different towns. And Pagosa Springs is on the downside of Wolf Creek Pass, which connects people to the rest of Colorado. Essentially, Wolf Creek is a really cool pass, as you experienced too.
And is this, so you've got 350 cyclists, is this a camping event, or if I'm wanting a little bit more elevated experience, can I hotel it?
It's both. It's truly, it's mostly hotelers. We definitely have camping. It's a little bit different this year because, for good or for bad, and not to get into politics, but Durango has kind of eliminated camping in town as an option. So we've contracted with several commercial campgrounds around the area, and you can definitely utilize their facilities, and they have showers and things like that. It's just not quite as convenient as staying right there at the start of the ride, like some rides would be used to. But they still, it's so funny, they still allow people to do what you did, was stay in your car.
Yeah.
Or if you have a little RV or whatever, we do offer that option, and you can park right there at the start of the ride, and then you can come get breakfast in the exhibit hall and go on for the ride.
And there were a lot of people that were car camping. Like I felt like we were in a little, we're just where a bunch of us were all kind of hanging out, car camping together.
Yeah, it's a good community. I really love that about any ride, really, RAGBRAI, you name it, is that you start to kind of like form these little coalitions of people, and it's really awesome to see the community come together.
Yeah. Tell us what a typical day is like on this bike ride.
Obviously we start early, and then it's just it's hard to say that because I think each day is a lot different. The first day is a lot of climbing, getting to Silverton, get on the train. It's kind of a long day, but a fun day and an adventurous day. It's a lot of it's kind of romantic in my mind with the
Mm.
old train that was built in the 1800s that you got to ride home
Mm-hmm.
back to your car and all that. And then the next day is more of a short, get to see some new stuff around Durango. The third day is totally different, and we ride down into the Ute Indian Reservation
Mm-hmm.
and get to experience some of the different kind of scenery in that area. Um, we partner with some nonprofits down there, and they bring out food, and there's a really good camaraderie, and they really look forward to this event
Oh, and
because it's a good way
it's
for
really
fun.
cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. Actually, that's probably my favorite thing about that ride in some
Mm-hmm.
ways is the nonprofits that we work with. And then fourth day we ride up Wolf Creek Pass, but this year when you did it, we did a little twist where we had the Pagosa High School mountain bike team,
Oh yeah,
great
wait,
people,
right.
great people at the top with fresh Colorado peaches, and that was super cool. I think the kids loved it, and the riders seemed to like it. It was like this generational connection,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so Colorado. And the last day, you're just getting back to Durango, and so it's a whole different. Every day is different, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, everything that you just said. Romantic didn't come to mind until you actually said it, and then I'm like, you're right, because it was just you have a lot of time to do thinking, especially when you're climbing. And we talked about this before we push record, but like I live in Iowa, so we definitely have elevation, but it's usually short, and then you're always rewarded with a downhill, which us Iowans call them rollers. I know that you probably say that
Yeah,
too, but when you're in Colorado, it's literal mountains. And was it that first day when it was all the way up? It was like 24 or 25 miles up,
yeah,
and that was brutal for me. Like I spent a lot of time talking myself out of, like just jumping off the mountain. Like I was like,
right.
okay, you can do this. But what's funny is, you get to the top and you're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And I didn't wake up like sore or anything the next day. So I knew my body could handle it. It was just the mental game. And I was hugely rewarded internally after that day. I was like, you know what? I can do anything now. I mean,
Yeah.
I made it to the top of that pass. And then to have the reward of you bike all day and then you get on this old timey train that it's steam, right? Steam engine.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's a steam engine. Yep.
Yeah, because they would like blow out all of the steam. There was, I don't know, they told us exactly why they did that. And it would just blow into all of the trees and such. And then every time, oh my God, look over there. Oh my God, look over there. Like it was a jam packed several hours of taking the train back because it was so beautiful.
Yeah, it is stunning. It goes to parts of Colorado that you can't get to any other way.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
And
it's
then for us, there must be two trains that use that same track or something of that sort. But there was a big boulder that had rolled off of
oh
one of the
right.
cliffs and was on the train track.
I forgot
So
about that.
we all had to stop and figure out how to get this boulder off the train. And I don't know what would have happened if it would have rolled down into the train, but anyway, so we were delayed for a little bit of a time, but it didn't matter because everyone just had like high energy from the sights and such. So do I remember right? I wasn't there, but was there a bear somewhere on the route?
Yeah, Zach, there was on the second day, there was a bear hanging out at the bottom of a canyon, I guess. I didn't
Yeah.
see it, but Zach saw it. He said it was just hanging out on the side of the road. I'm so bummed I didn't see it.
I know, me too. I mean, I don't want to ride past it, but I would definitely take a photograph. So
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we mentioned the train ride, which like you said, is optional, but so beautiful. It was well worth the extra time. But also, you got to tell everybody about the hot springs.
Yeah, the hot springs well, there's two hot springs. You didn't see the first one, which is in Durango itself. It's the Durango hot springs, which is great, but it's not really quite on the route. But then we finish in Pagosa
Mm-hmm.
Springs, which has a huge. I think it might be one of the I'm going to say the largest in the world, but I'm not sure that's true. It's definitely the deepest hot springs in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. It's got like 38 pools, and it's really cool. I mean, it's got a temperature for everybody. You can sit in the river that runs through there.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a nice, good food and hanging out stuff. And it's just in fact, I don't know about last year, but the first year we did the ride, there was a huge number of cyclists who decided not to do Wolf Creek Pass,
Mm.
and they just hung out at the pool all day long,
Oh.
just because they were so excited about just hanging out, and it's pretty tough to not hang out there.
Oh, it was amazing. And that was my first experience with a hot springs. And so I was overwhelmed with the fact that you walk in and there, like you said, there's dozens of different little pools. They look like hot tubs, kind of. And each one has a sign labeling what they are. They name them, but then also the current temperature. So
Right.
like one of them was, if you're gonna go in the Rock Lobster pool, it's like 110 degrees. I'm like, I don't think I can handle that. So I would like kind of work my way through. Let's go to lower temps, lower and lower and lower, and cool off. Then let's go higher and higher and higher. So I was like so re-energized after that trip, and I don't know if it, maybe the hot springs have a little bit of eternal youth that they put into my blood, or if it was just the fact that I rode my bike through the mountains. But it was overall an amazing experience.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, they do claim those sorts of things in their, materials.
Yeah,
I guess I'm sort of used to hot springs that seem to be all over the place in Colorado, but it's fun. That's fun to hear your perspective on
yeah,
it. I do. The other thing that's kind of cool is you can do the hot springs, and then you can jump in the river for a cold bath real quick, which
right.
is very therapeutic. I don't know if you did that, but some people love to do that.
I
So
just dipped my toes because it was definitely it was definitely cold.
yeah,
Okay, so we're talking about Colorado's Ride, which is a multi-day tour. I love that you have it during the week, so then you can kind of extend your vacation either side or both sides. Will you tell the listeners what sort of aid support or support that you offer while people are biking?
oh, sure. Yeah, we have an aid station every 15 to 20 miles, depending on the terrain, with all kinds of snacks. And, we use Tailwind nutrition for our drink. And then we, of course, water and licorice and, Cliff Bars, whatever. We have all kinds of different things to eat. And then we have full on EMT support on motorcycles and in an ambulance. And we have the Colorado State Patrol along, keep people in line, so to speak. I feel like it's well supported.
Mm-hmm.
You as a rider could tell me better how you felt, but we try to make sure we have as much safety in place as we can possibly have. And we also have SAGs, of course, in case somebody needs a lift, up the
Mm-hmm.
line, or so to speak. Yeah, it's just it. I think we do a good job, supporting it. You'd have to tell me from your perspective, I guess.
A quick interruption to tell you this week's podcast is sponsored by Lizard Lips Lip Balm. These great lip balms contain natural ingredients, come in a variety of flavors, and you can choose certified organic or balms with sun protection. Check it out at lizardlips.net. Now back to the show.
I thought it was very well supported, and as with 350 riders, over let's say 70 miles, everyone gets spread out. And it's almost impossible to get lost because you've got the maps on your bike computer or on your phone or whatever. But it was always nice to see the EMTs on motorcycles. They'd kind of come back and make sure everyone's still there, and you'd see them cruising by, so you knew if you had a problem that somebody was close by at all times. So I thought it was really nice. And then at the end of the ride, I don't know if you'll offer this again this coming year, but you had somebody there who was providing support after the ride.
Oh yeah, they had the Normatec boots and the IV drip things, and definitely had some of that. I'm assuming they might come back. I don't know. They were a sponsor essentially,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like they had a good experience, and they set up a little tent each day, and people could just go relax and get some hydration via IV, or put the boots on like you did and
Yep.
just relax a little bit.
And I actually, so, I went there solo. The only people that I knew going into this ride were you and then Zach, who was kind of one of your partners. And so as we rode throughout the week, I definitely got to know everyone. And one of the women who was also solo, she was car camping as well. And I think it was day 2, she did the IV thing. And I'm like, oh, total hocus pocus. This is crazy. And then the next day I rode with her and she's like, I got to go. I have all this energy. I'm sorry. I will meet you at the next, aid station. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing the IV thing tonight. And so I did the next day and it was awesome. I mean, they, I know that it has like vitamins in it, but mostly it is rehydrating you and getting you, back to where you were before the ride started. And
Right.
knowing that elevation is not, I don't live in elevation. So I would do that again. I would highly recommend it if anyone has the opportunity.
I've done those before. They do work.
Yeah.
I mean, and I do think, your audience, I'm going to assume, is a lot of Midwest folks. Altitude is a real thing.
It is, yes.
And it's pretty much impossible to totally train for it. You just can't. So you have to, there's hydration is absolutely critical. Whether it's just drinking really well or doing the IV thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just, you got to hydrate. And it's, in pro sports, they always talk about how do they come play the Nuggets or the Broncos, or everybody has a different way of trying to deal with it, but it is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to, if you can come out to a ride a couple days early and just get kind of used to it, and even just taking walks before the ride starts, just things that get you moving in altitude is a huge difference.
Yes, I agree. Any other highlights that you want to showcase for listeners?
I think if you're looking for a high mountain experience that is breathtaking and I feel is very relaxed compared to
Mm-hmm.
some other rides, because we only transfer to 2 towns. You're not getting up every day and packing, and
Yep.
you can kind of settle in a little bit.
Yep.
I feel like that gives you a more enriched experience in the mountains.
I completely agree. It was very relaxed. We would all leave at the same time and we'd get a little bit of a speech in the morning about what to expect. And then as everyone spreads out, like I mentioned, you still have the EMTs on motorcycles and you have, people in pickup trucks that are kind of making sure that everyone's moving along, or if they need help, they can get it. And then, at the end of the day, it's, you can do whatever you want. You can kind of hang out with everybody and talk about the day or talk about whatever, or you can just go to your own space and, read a book, go check out the scenery, go find a little cafe. I enjoyed every minute of it. Wait.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Except that 26 miles or 26 miles straight up. But that was type 2 fun for sure, Bill, because I thought I was going to die, but once I was done, I was very excited for myself. Sorry.
But it's pretty cathartic, right? You
Yeah.
get in your head and sort of like explore some new thoughts. And I think for me, when I do things that are similar, where it's like, this sucks, but let's just call it what it is.
Yes.
But at the same time, you're like, you have no choice, really.
Right.
Truly, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you kind of like peek behind the walls of your mind a bit and say, okay, I'm in this. I'm committed to this. How do I get through it? And I feel like that's super therapeutic.
I agree. Yeah. And then to know that, whether it's the next day or the next day, you're going to be able to go into some hot springs and truly reward yourself and your body. You have it set up perfectly for riders.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, we're not heavy on, the bands at the end of the night and getting party down. And it's more just like, it's kind of my personality a little bit. I'm cozy. I like cozy. I like to chill.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
you go work and chill. You don't have to be super entertained. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, we've mentioned the name Zach a couple times, but his business is called Summit Cycle Solutions, and I've done a podcast with Zach. But are there any other partners that you want to maybe plug or showcase?
I think our major partner we did get Common Spirit, which used to be Centura, but they're going to step up this year even bigger and provide much more support as part of an in-kind sponsorship. And so I really would like to highlight them. And then Ska Brewing, which we had that party at Ska Brewing last year. And they provide us with beer after the ride and that kind of thing. And actually, my brother is friends with the owner of Ska, that they went to high school together, weirdly enough. So
cool.
It's kind of a fun connection. But yeah, those are our, we've got some, we had Primal jerseys last year, and we'll probably be partnering with Primal, which I know is big with Ragbri. And and we had Thule, and that was some, and the Cyclist Lawyer. Good sponsors, and thanks for asking.
Tell the listeners where they can go to get registered and the dates for 2025.
It's Colorado's, with an S, coloradosride.com. And the date of our ride is August 18th through the 22nd.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw out an offer. I'm not sure when this podcast will air, but I'm going to say sometime in the next month, I presume, right?
Yes. Yep.
Let's do a coupon code for your listeners. If they want to do our ride, I'll make a coupon code good through March 1st. We'll call it MRF.
Okay.
And they get $100 off.
Holy moly, that's quite an offer. All right. So you heard it here. Code MRF. Let's do Colorado's ride. $100 off.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for taking the time to talk to us. And coloradosride.com is the website. And be sure to look in the show notes because there's going to be all kinds of info.
Great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, listeners, that's it for this week. Email me at murphologypodcast@gmail.com if you have a topic or the name of a cyclist you find interesting. Support my podcast at patreon.com/murphology and visit both my Facebook and Instagram pages for daily entertainment. I have more great episodes in the pipeline, so I hope you continue to be a Murphology podcast listener.